Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review of our frustrating 3-2 loss yesterday to Arsenal at the Emirates. Really frustrating game for Everton. Really frustrating defeat as well, obviously after going in front after only, 49 seconds, thanks to a fantastic acrobatic finish by Calvert-Lewin. Arsenal pulling it back, equalising just before half-time, obviously, and then conceding literally 30 seconds into the second half. A goal that, again, just come from a sheer lapse of concentration and a sheer lapse of awareness from the defence, and then not being able to get back into the game. And like I said, the most frustrating thing is, again, we've seen plenty of times against these top sides away from home, as Everton creating a plethora of opportunities in the second half and creating loads of opportunities and not being able to put any of them away. We had enough opportunities yesterday to not only go on and equalise, but also to go on and win the game as well, and we just couldn't convert them in the second half. Calvert-Lewin having a absolute clear-cut one, which initially I watched and I thought he's miles offside. The keeper makes a save, and when you see a situation like that and you think, right, okay, keeper saved it, yeah, but he's offside, so it doesn't really matter. And then you watch the replay and you start to realise that he wasn't actually offside, and he's hit it straight at the keeper from 5 yards. It makes you just feel like a little bit, shit, what if he'd have put that in the back of the net with the come away with the point? And like I said, we had more than one opportunity yesterday to equalise the game, and on another day we could have won it, but that is football, and that is the frustrating element of yesterday's results and ultimately yesterday's performance. Like I said, there was plenty of positives to take out of the performance. It wasn't by any means the worst performance away from home, definitely not the worst performance against the side who we haven't beaten in 26 years away from home. Obviously haven't beaten Arsenal since January 1996 at the Emirates and at the Highbury. So it wasn't, awful, but obviously it was quite frustrating that we couldn't get anything out of the game, especially considering how tight the league table is at the minute, especially considering the sides around us that have been picking up points over the last sort of weekend. Wolves, Manchester United, etc., all winning and all picking up points, while we obviously didn't pick up any this weekend. And Arsenal as well, who started the day below us in the table and obviously ultimately ended the day above us due to picking up the all-important 3 points. It was, like I said, overall it was frustrating. It was. Everton started the game quite positively. I think the first sort of 25 minutes we were in control. Obviously, we scored within the opening minute to make it 1-0. And I said in my instant match reaction yesterday, whenever you score so early on in a game, there is a little part of you that's thinking, have we scored a little bit too early? Are we now just going to be playing on the back foot for the rest of the game? And notoriously, when Everton scored really early on, we don't do very well. We've seen it in the FA Cup final 2009 when Louis Saha scored within 25-30 seconds, and then and then Chelsea went on to win the game. So we scored early on, a fantastic goal by Calvert-Lewin. It has to be said. Cross comes in, free kick comes in. Yerry Mina does fantastically to just absolutely rag Kolasinac out of his position and out of the back line to make obviously the offside line a lot higher. Or a lot deeper, sorry. Ball comes in, it's headed. David Luiz doesn't quite get a good connection on it, and then Calvert-Lewin with a massive acrobatic finish. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought at first, when I first seen it, that it was a header. It wasn't until I seen the replay that I seen it was actually a fantastic goal. And just to touch on Calvert-Lewin's goal yesterday, I just want to touch on something that I heard from a pundit who was paid a lot of money to supposedly talk sense and give an unbiased view on football matches. Graham Soon has come out yesterday on Sky and said that, again, a little bit like Richarlison's goal against Manchester United at Goodison Park last season, that Calvert-Lewin's goal yesterday should have been disallowed for a high foot. And what I want to say is, it absolutely baffles me how Sky Sports News and the bosses at Sky Sports wake up every single day and say to themselves, you know what, Graham Soon is as good at his job and knows what he's talking about, because that fella hasn't got a clue. He literally has not got a clue. This is a man who used to run round week in, week out, volleying people, stamping on people, kicking people to bits. But when it's a player in an Everton shirt who scores an acrobatic finish, he can't just give him praise. It's got to be a high foot. It's got to be disallowed. He's an absolute bellend. But anyway, a fantastic goal from Calvert-Lewin nonetheless. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it at all. And Everton starts to control the game then. Like I said, first sort of 25 minutes, we look comfortable. Obviously, Arsenal were coming at us. They were trying to find that equaliser. They were trying to bounce back. But we did look comfortable defensively. We were controlling the ball. We were putting it into midfield. I'd probably say the midfield let us down yesterday, to be honest with you. As soon as I seen the team, as much as I felt like I trusted Carlo Ancelotti, and I do trust Carlo Ancelotti, and I felt like I had that inner trust in him, I was a little bit worried at the midfield. Obviously, seeing Gylfi Sigurdsson initially playing on one of the wings was massively worrying. Alex Iwobi hasn't been in great form recently, certainly not when he's come up against his former side. Obviously, you know, he went off injured, of course, at Goodison Park. Didn't have a great game yesterday. And then the two centre midfielders who notoriously just don't play well together. So I was a little bit worried about the midfield at the start of the game. But like I said, first 20-25 minutes, we sort of consoled the game. You know, we were using the ball well. Yes, the midfield was a little bit sloppy at times, but we were getting the ball forward. And you know, we were continuing to sort of console. And then all of a sudden, Sidibe manages to do arguably the worst thing he done all game. And I think Sidibe had a pretty poor game, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, yesterday. We're going to talk about Jabril Sidibe a little bit later on in the live scene, but I think he probably managed to do the worst thing that he'd done all day, and that was injure Kolasinac. Purely because Kolasinac then went off and their young fullback Saka come on, and he just absolutely teared it up for them, didn't he? Bombs it down the left-hand side, I think it was, puts a ball in, and Nketiah, I think it is, isn't it, comes across and makes it 1-1. And from that point on, I think between their equalising goal and half-time, I just think we massively panicked. As soon as we conceded that first goal, we went from a sort of composed, cool, collected side who had a high back line, and we were playing the back line really well, using the offside trap well, using the ball when we had it, continuing to play in our style of play. And then as soon as we conceded that equaliser, it's just like everything went to sort of panic stations again and revert back to just volleying the ball in any direction that you can as soon as you get it. Like I said, we conceded the equaliser. It's not long before Arsenal go back up the other end and make it 2-1. Aubameyang given absolutely unlimited amounts of space and unlimited amounts of time to put the ball in the back of the net in what was a good finish ultimately, but a gifted opportunity to him. And then, you know, you're also starting to feel a little bit demoralised. You know, you've seen Everton dominate for 20-25 minutes, or, you know, maybe even not dominate, but console the game and again put in a good console and away performance, and then all of a sudden we concede once and that's it, panic stations again, and we sort of just lose our play. Obviously, literally the last kick of the game, the last kick of the ball before the first half, we scored with the first kick of the game in the first half, and then just before the referee is about to blow his whistle, ball comes in again. Richarlison this time getting on the end of a Yerry Mina header, I believe it was. Again, no foul whatsoever on the keeper, doesn't touch him whatsoever, and you know, he manages to poke it in, and their defender's on the line, but it happens to go over the line, and all of a sudden we're going in half time 2-2. Not a bad sort of result considering the fact that, you know, being sort of a game of a half, of I'd say comfortable domination from both sides. Like I said, Everton in the first 20-25 minutes looked comfortable, and then it sort of switched as soon as Arsenal got the equaliser. And then you are sort of feeling a little bit confident going into half-time. We've got the goal at the end of the half, a little bit like we did against Watford a few weeks ago. We've equalised straight, you know, just before the half-time whistle, best time to equalise really. We've gone in, you know, we're looking positive, and then all of a sudden, again, that same old typical situation for Everton Football Club is not coming out straight off the bat in the second half. As soon as the referee puts that ball down on the halfway line for the second half, we should be focused, we should be switched on, we should be, you know, aware of what's going to happen. 30 seconds into the first half, Arsenal go down the end, a little bit like we did in the 30 seconds into the second half, a little bit like we did in the first half. Arsenal bomb it down the wing, get a ball in. I think it's Pepe puts the cross in. Aubameyang again is left absolutely unmarked, nobody around him. He's got all the time in the world to head it, and he heads it past Jordan Pickford, who arguably should do better. But again, that's 30 seconds into the second half. You know, we obviously weren't awake, we obviously weren't focused, we weren't ready. We then had an entire half to go out and get an equaliser, and I think the rest of the second half, other than maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes when Arsenal were breaking and Arsenal were looking like they could potentially get another one, after that, the rest of the game purely was just Everton searching for that equaliser, and we couldn't find it. And like I said, I'm a little bit worried that this is becoming a recurring theme against the away against the top sort of six sides, or, you know, the likes of Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, etc. You know, again, Obviously, there is a lot of positives to take from the game yesterday. We'll go through some of the positives in a second, and fully believe in Carlo Ancelotti, and I do believe that it won't be long before we can go to sides like Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, Chelsea, and win away from home. But again, what we seen yesterday, very similar to the game against Arsenal at the Emirates last season, was Everton, whereas last season it was within the first 10-15 minutes we created, 4 clear-cut opportunities. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had a clear one last season as well, and we didn't score any of them, and we were made to pay. We were beaten 2-0 in that game. Similarly yesterday, after that sort of 10-15 minute spell at the start of the second half, after Arsenal scored their third goal, it was just all Everton creating opportunities, getting down the wing, breaking through. Bird Leno kept them in that game. Bird Leno won that game for them. Dominic Calvert-Lewin having an opportunity from millimetres away, and it's straight at the goalkeeper. I'm not going to go too much into Dominic Calvert-Lewin because, again, he scored a fantastic finish yesterday, and whilst some people might be saying, yeah, but he should be scoring opportunities like that and this, that, the other, he had no real right to score the goal that he did score, and he's been in fantastic form yesterday. I'm not going to put any blame on the attackers for yesterday, Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison. Both had opportunities, to be fair, in the second half to equalise and ultimately potentially go on and win the game, but I don't think we can sit here and dwell too much on that because the pair of them have been absolutely fantastic. Since Carlo Ancelotti come in, since Duncan Ferguson come in, the pair of them have been absolutely unbelievable. So I don't want to go in and speak too much about them. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's come out on social media today and explain that he feels like he is a little bit to blame, and he can take that on the chin sort of, and that's fair enough. That's all we need to say about it really. But again, logging onto Twitter yesterday, I still seen some criticism of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which just absolutely blew me mind, considering the kid is literally scoring week in, week out for Everton, all types of goals, strikers, poachers, finishers, headers, acrobatic goals. I just don't understand how after a couple of clear-cut opportunities missed, he can all of a sudden go back down to being, as poor as some fans seem to think he was a couple of seasons ago. I just don't understand it. But we had the opportunities, to be fair to them. Moise Keane obviously coming on, he had a couple. Again, takes a man on and decides to try and hit it from 25-30 yards, which in the circumstance, I just don't understand why he did it. But ultimately, that was the frustrating element of the game yesterday, the frustration of that entire second half. Like I said, the first half, it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't poor as well. We took the lead, we panicked a little bit when they equalised, but we managed to get ourselves back into the game. The frustrating element was that second half, and we conceded straight away, which is frustrating in itself, and then the fact that we couldn't find an equaliser despite having 16 opportunities or however many we had. But like I said, there is a lot of positives to take, and we just have to sort of take that on the head. Now again, it is frustrating because we've gone away to one of the top sort of 6 sides, and more importantly, I'm not really asked about whether Arsenal are a top side. I'm not really asked about Gary Neville coming out and saying Everton don't win away against the top sides, which is true, but I'm not really asked about that. I'm more asked about the fact that Arsenal are in and around our position in the Premier League, and we're going to be fighting for Europe, or our aim is to be fighting for the Europa League positions and fighting with the Arsenals, with your Man United, with your Spurs, with your Wolves, with your Sheffield United, and seeing all of those teams around us picking up points at the weekend, the likes of Wolves, the likes of Burnley, who Tommy's pointed out there, the likes of Manchester United, obviously Chelsea. That's the frustrating element. Not only did Arsenal beat us and that we were beaten again at the Emirates, I know it's frustrating to say, we've gone 26 years without a win at Arsenal, and again we've gone away to another whatever, top 6, top 7, whatever you want to call them, side, and not managed to win. Yes, that is frustrating, but for me the most frustrating thing about yesterday is that Arsenal were below us at the start of the day. Obviously, ultimately, they won and went above us. But again, we've dropped points when we're in a battle where we can't really afford to be dropping many points because the sides around us are really, really picking up points. But that's it's obviously you could spin that into being a positive, because 3 or 4 months ago I pretty much said that exact same sentence, but I was talking about the fact that we were in the relegation zone and Norwich and Aston Villa and teams like Bournemouth were picking up points who were in and around us, and we weren't, and there's a big fear that we could potentially go down. Obviously now it's flipped, and we're in a fight for European football. But for me, that was the most frustrating thing about yesterday. Not only was the goal conceded so early into the second half, not only did we failed to get back into the game and failed to equalise despite a plethora of opportunities, but also we dropped points in a weekend where we could have done with at least coming away with a point there. I'm just going to tweet today's stream out so everybody on Twitter knows that we are live. I just want to say as well, before we go any further into it, please excuse the massive elephant in the room, which is the fact that my hair looks absolutely disgraceful today. I washed it yesterday and couldn't be arsed drying it, so just went to bed, and I've woke up and it looks like a chicken's arse, and it can't be fixed basically until I wash it again. So just excuse that, please. But anyway, get your thoughts about the game in the comment section down below. We'll get into the comments now before we go into talking about some more of the positives about yesterday's game, because I think there is a lot of positives, to be perfectly honest with you. Despite the results, obviously. William says, hey Cam, how you doing, mate? I'm not too bad, William. I hope you're doing well. Alex says, yes Cam, yes Alex. William says, I'm horrified when I seen the starting lineup. Hope Keane was injured, so it made any sense. I assume you're talking about Moise Keane. I don't think he was. Richard said, good morning from down under, Cam. Good morning, Richard. I hope you're doing well. William says, Gylfi too slow to be a midfielder, so why would start left hand side? I'm still racking my brains. I thought the subs were a bit mad. Yeah, I want to touch on Gylfi Sigurdsson. Listen, I tweeted out yesterday that for me it was arguably Gylfi Sigurdsson's last opportunity really to impress. I think the Evertonians in an Everton shirt yesterday, you know, it's becoming more and more apparent week in, week out that he's just not up for it, and he's just not good enough to be in a side that, you know, whether we're in Europe next season or whether we're still fighting for Europe. Sigurdsson obviously taking up the position on the wing, and there does have to be an element of sort of empathy for Gylfi Sigurdsson, obviously, since Carlo Ancelotti's come in, since Duncan Ferguson's come in. He hasn't played an awful lot of games in his natural sort of attacking midfield number 10 position, if you like, where he does so well at. He has played a lot of games as a regular centre midfield, which obviously we know he's not the best at. Obviously playing out on the wing yesterday, which we know he's not the best at. Listen, again, I think, for me, the most worrying thing about Gylfi Sigurdsson's performances isn't even the fact that he's not getting on the ball an awful lot now, or that he's pointing at a lot of players now. It's the fact that when he's on the ball, his passing range seems to have just been absolutely slashed. The Gylfi Sigurdsson that we signed 2 or 3 years ago would be able to pick a ball up and ping it 55 yards onto someone's toe as they're running for a counter-attack. The Gylfi Sigurdsson would be able to play an amazing through ball and just rip to bits of defence with one pass, whereas now he can't seem to pass the ball 5 or 10 yards without it going out of play, or somebody intercepting it, or it not being, the weight of the ball not being good enough. And I don't know whether that's a confidence issue, or whether, he just maybe is in bad form, or just maybe, the form he was in previously was good form, and realistically he doesn't have that in his locker week in, week out. I don't know, but that for me is the most worrying thing with Gylfi Sigurdsson, is that very, very recently he doesn't seem to be able to spray a ball like he used to. And again, yesterday he was picking the ball up in some good positions, but it just wasn't quite working for him. And we were counter-attacking. He didn't look like he wanted to break with everybody else. He didn't look like he had the energy to go. And I don't think we needed to be told before the game that Gylfi Sigurdsson on the wing doesn't work. But there you go. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, obviously in the links are in the description below. Where are we? Tommy says Burnley. Remy says go on. Good day, David. Kay says hi, Cam. Watching Everton not good for the heart. Can we get into Europe? It's not. We certainly can. Again, we just have to start picking up points now, and that starts on Sunday against Manchester United. For me, we need to go out there and we need to get 3 points against Manchester United. And I think it's very viable that we can. I think we can go out and get the 3 points against United on Sunday. But ultimately, in order to stay in this race and in order to pick up points in weeks that the sides around us aren't picking up points, we need to go out there and win next week. Tommy says Burnley are above us. Jay says don't know how Gylfi and Delph start the games. I'd start Davis and bring Gylfi on as a sub. Options, mate, innit? It's options, realistically. The reason why the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson, Fabian Delph, Morgan Schneiderlin, some would argue, even though I think he's played well in recent weeks, the reason these players are getting games is purely because we just don't have the squad to be playing more, a better quality of play. And obviously we've seen the return of Andre Gomes yesterday. I'll touch on Andre Gomes now because, no better time than the other. I've titled the live stream as Gomes shines despite Blues defeat. Andre Gomes come on for 25-30 minutes in yesterday's defeat to Arsenal and put in the best midfield performance in that 30 minutes since his last 30 minutes before he got injured against Tottenham. He absolutely showed up Gylfi Sigurdsson, he absolutely showed up Fabian Delph, he showed up Morgan Schneiderlin in terms of a complete midfielder who brings the ball down, isn't scared, isn't going to run away from it, will come to the ball, will pick the ball up from the defence and will move it forward. There's confidence on it, has got a great touch, has got a great awareness, can pass the ball, like I said, can bring it forward and isn't afraid to get himself in the way and isn't afraid to get involved. What I've seen from Gylfi Sigurdsson so far this season, I think, is a player that seems to be afraid to get involved. Now, whether that's because he's afraid of making a mistake, whether that's because he's afraid of getting hurt, I don't know. But Gylfi Sigurdsson, pretty much week in, week out now, seems to be afraid of getting involved in the game, afraid of getting the ball. When he's got the ball, he panics, he just wants to get it out of his feet. What we seen with Andre Gomes yesterday, who, can I just remind everybody, is a player that's come back from one of the most horrific injuries I've ever witnessed as a football fan. Come back, first time, obviously back since his injury, 112 days out, come on the pitch and was instantly attracted to the ball, wanted the ball, wasn't afraid to get it, wasn't afraid to put his body on the line, wasn't afraid to go in for a challenge, to battle, to complete a 50-50. And for me, put in the best performance for a player in an Everton shirt yesterday, and simply, like I said, the best midfield performance since he last played against Tottenham all that time ago before that injury. And that really, really does show up the current midfielders that we've got. And if that doesn't make the likes of Fabian Delph and Gylfi Sigurdsson sit up and think, fucking hell, I need to improve here or I'm out the door, then I don't know what will, because one thing is for certain is that Andre Gomes will be in that starting 11 on Sunday against Manchester United, because he is head and tails better than any midfield option that we have currently. Head and tails better than any midfield option. Even an Andre Gomes who's coming back from such a horrific injury is head and tails better than a Fabian Delph who's been fit for weeks, a Gylfi Sigurdsson who's been fit for weeks. I thought Andre Gomes was fantastic yesterday. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He, like I said, he held himself with such professionalism. He come on, he wasn't afraid to get the ball, he wasn't afraid to put himself in a situation where you would completely understand if he was a little bit hesitant to go into a challenge, if he was a little bit hesitant for a one-on-one, but he wasn't. He was picking the ball up, and he was almost, like I said, he was getting attracted to the ball, but then he was sort of holding it up and almost saying to Arsenal, you come to me, and allowing Arsenal players to come and crowd him, and then he was playing the balls that he needed to play. It was an absolutely fantastic performance by him yesterday, and like I said, he showed up a lot of midfielders there, he showed up a lot of players in an Everton shirt, and he, let's be perfectly honest, he is our best midfielder by quite a stretch. Tommy says, Craig, I will answer that for you. At best, you'll be playing in Kazakhstan, the Europa League qualifier. Wimmy says, I thought we should have started Keane up front, Richie and Iwobi on the wings, potentially. And Wimmy also says, game was crying out for a direct pace, we made it easy for Luis and Socrates. We did, and you know what? You know, there was always going to be a case with that Arsenal defence of making sure that you run at them, and okay, you know what, in other weeks, Carlo Ancelotti might have been looking at the likes of a Richarlison or a Dominic Calvert-Lewin and thinking, you are the type of players to run teams, you are the lads that we're looking out for to do that. They didn't quite do it an awful lot yesterday, but you know, realistically, Carlo Ancelotti was never going to start anybody else over those two, because they've been in fantastic form, and both got on the score sheet yesterday, which again is all that matters. But I do agree with you. Tommy says, Cammy nearly booted David Luiz's head off. That's the nature of the game. If that's the case, then, you know, overhead kicks shouldn't exist. Cristiano Ronaldo's against Juventus in the Champions League a few years ago shouldn't exist. Gareth Bale's against Liverpool in the Champions League final should have been chalked out. Wayne Rooney's against Manchester City, arguably one of the best derby goals ever to have been scored, should be chalked out. That's what acrobatic football is. You put your head high, you're getting away. David Luiz actually goes to head his foot. So if anybody's in danger, it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin in that situation, and there's absolutely no way on this earth that goal was anything other than a fantastic acrobatic goal. And the people that are listening to the likes of Graham Souness and getting brainwashed by his utter bias bullshit, just watch Graham Souness commenting on any acrobatic goal scored by a Liverpool player and see if he's got the same view, because I can guarantee he hasn't. Eugene says, Everton should have got a draw yesterday afternoon. We should have, but we didn't. You get what you get, don't you, I suppose. And then says, how's it going, Cam? Opal as well, still upset that Iwobi started. He was never in the game. Wonder what he looks like insane. He wasn't in the game, and he struggled massively yesterday, Alex Iwobi. And you know what? I like Alex Iwobi, and I desperately want him to be a success at Everton, and I desperately want him to sort of access that potential that we all know he has got, but in recent weeks he just hasn't seemed on the ball. I understand why he was played, obviously, with the clear fact that Bernard wasn't 100% fit and ready to start. Obviously, Theo Walcott not in the team. I think Theo Walcott would have been a guaranteed starter if he was fit. So I understand why Carlo Ancelotti chose him, but again, he's got a lot of work to do on the training ground. Alex Iwobi. William says, hey Hernandez. Craig says, Tommy, think you may be right. Rather not, though, too many games in Europa. William says, Salford Iwobi isn't a winger, certainly not a right winger, just back. I thought he was okay on midfield. Delph's Sigurdsson, Schneiderlin, slowest tier in football. Ewan says, Everton will get back to winning ways next week. Hope so. William says, hey Craig, Wolves seem to be able to handle it. Craig says, Wormy, they haven't got Delph, Sigurdsson and Schneiderlin. Ewan says, did you watch the Tyson Fury fight? I didn't watch it live, but I've watched the replay. What a performance by Tyson. And Stewie says, alright Cam, hope you good mate, don't forget to like the video everyone and show support to a fellow blue. Yeah, if you could like the video, it'd mean a massive amount to me. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, it only takes a second. Like I said, go and follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. So yeah, listen, like I said, although it was a frustrating game, although it was a frustrating performance, there was a lot of positives to take. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal is a massive positive. The quality and the confidence that it takes to put an opportunity like that in the back of the net is a massive positive, because at the end of the day, you know, people have been very critical of Dominic Calvert-Lewin over recent years about how, you know, he doesn't score enough, he's not in the right place at the right time enough, and okay, you know, I think he does need to improve on his sort of confidence maybe and his experience one-on-one with goalkeepers and scoring the easy opportunities. Really, it don't seems to be a typical case of being able to score a worldie but struggles to score a one-on-one, and we seen that yesterday. But again, it's a massive positive to take. Him and Richarlison getting on the score sheet together, seeming like a fantastic duo, really working well together. Obviously both scoring yesterday, which is a massive positive. Andre Gomes coming back into the squad, playing a tough half an hour and really solidifying himself as our best midfield player and our best midfield option, and again solidifying himself to obviously Carlo Ancelotti for the first time and saying, listen, I need to be in this team week in, week out. And I think Carlo Ancelotti will have looked at his performance on Sunday and thought, you know what, he will be in this team week in, week out as long as he's fit. And then obviously the chances that we created, although, you know, they didn't go in, and although we didn't make anything of them, it's still a positive that we're managing to break teams down and that we're managing to fight until the very end. It wasn't that long ago that Everton had just curled up and crumbled and absolutely fell to bits after conceding a third goal in a game that we'd already come back in, but we didn't yesterday. We continued to push, we continued to pressure, and I think Arsenal were quite lucky to hang on, to be honest with you. If it wasn't for the goalkeeper having a fantastic performance, I think, you know, that game would have ended in a draw. Anyway, like I said, there was plenty of positives, but for me, we spoke about the midfield, we spoke about how the fact that it is very clear that Gylfi Sigurdsson can't play on the wing. It's very clear that, you know, he struggled. It's very clear that Fabian Delph just isn't good enough. Morgan Schneiderlin probably in the grand scheme of things maybe just isn't good enough, although I think he's played well recently. Alex Iwobi certainly at the moment isn't good enough. But I want to talk about the defence because, you know, I've been full of praise for the defence in recent weeks, and rightly so as well. The defence have been putting in some fantastic performance. That was only the second time we've lost under Carlo Ancelotti. Yesterday, obviously, the first being against Manchester City in the Premier League. I'm talking, we'll forget about that FA Cup game, shall we? But for me, the defence yesterday just weren't on par. I thought Leighton Baines was fantastic. To be fair to him, again, 35-year-old left back stepping into the team after, you know, only playing a couple of games this season and looking like he's never been out of it. That man is so class, he's so quality. He's such a fantastic professional. And again, stepped in and done a fantastic job yesterday. Obviously, in the centre of the defence, I thought Mason Holgate had a decent game. I thought Yerry Mina struggled a little bit positional wise again for Aubameyang's second goal and ultimately the winner. Positioning wise between both centre halves probably could have been a little bit better, specifically Yerry Mina. And on the right hand side, listen, I think we need to talk about Djibril Sidibe because there's been a lot of news, there's been a lot of rumours in the papers over the last week or so surrounding Djibril Sidibe and his future and whether his future will be at Everton Football Club. So let's cast our minds back. Obviously around about this time last week, probably about Wednesday last week, there was a rumour in the paper that Juventus are waiting on Everton's decision whether or not to sign Djibril Sidibe, and it sparked a big discussion as whether or not for 14 million pound, whatever it is, the clause is that we can sign him for, whether or not he is, you know, he's good enough, and you know, ultimately whether he'll be our starting right back next season. Because if we're making that purchase, if we're spending 14 million pound on Djibril Sidibe, then the expectation is that he comes in next season and he plays week in, week out as our starting right back. Otherwise, why sign him on a permanent? Why not send him back, say thanks for your time, and then we go out and we sign a right back that is good enough to play next season? For me, I think it boils down to two things. If we're all in agreement that John Joe Kenny probably isn't quite ready yet and maybe needs another year out on loan, if we're all in agreement that Seamus Coleman probably shouldn't be playing week in, week out because of obviously fitness issues and the fact that if we're going to be a team challenging in Europe and we're going to be a team challenging for domestic competitions, we need a younger, fresher right back, then it all falls down to Djibril Sidibe realistically. And for me, I just question whether he's good enough defensively. Another poor defensive performance from him yesterday, in my opinion. Similar to the Watford game, he was caught in possession a couple of times, he was caught out of position a couple of times, and I just think, like I said, if we're going to make that purchase, if we're going to bring Sidibe in, even though it's not ultimately that much money, 12 to 14 million pound in this day and age isn't an awful lot, is it? Let's be honest. But if we're making that purchase, for me, we need to be absolutely 100% certain that he can come in and he can be our right back in a side that are fighting in Europe, fighting for the Champions League, fighting in the Premier League. All of these goals that Carlo Ancelotti has said that he hopes to achieve with Everton, all of these goals that the board have set out to achieve with Everton, if we're bringing Djibril Sidibe in, we need to be confident that he can achieve those goals with this squad, and he is defensively and offensively good enough to achieve those goals. And I just think offensively, I think he's fine. He puts in some really, really good balls. He gets forward. He's got a good through ball. But defensively, I just don't necessarily think he's good enough, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. It's just my personal opinion. Djibril Sidibe's put in, a fair few good defensive performances this season, but certainly in the games against the sides that attack, viciously with pace and down the wing, I just think he struggled. And again, yesterday, he really, really did struggle. And like I said, for me, I don't see much point in bringing in Djibril Sidibe if Carlo Ancelotti is still going to sit there and think, right, okay, I probably still need another right back, because defensively, he's not quite all there. Yeah, fantastic going forward, but we need to bring in a right back that is not only great going forward, but also solid and can do the basics defensively. And I just think, certainly on Carlo Ancelotti's team selection and his tactics this season, I just think Carlo Ancelotti may see Sidibe as more of an attacking player. Obviously, we've seen Sidibe play multiple times now under Ancelotti further up the pitch. So I just think that he may see him potentially as a player that can play further up rather than a starting right back. And at the end of the day, I said in the preview on Friday, Seamus Coleman was absolutely fantastic against Crystal Palace. It was arguably Seamus Coleman's best game in Everton shirt for a matter of years. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand where Ancelotti's coming from, putting Sidibe in. I understand that Sidibe's the younger player, he's got the fresher legs, he's got the more pace, the more stamina, but I just think Seamus is much better defensively, and that's what we needed. We needed that defensive cover yesterday, and Sidibe purely didn't bring it. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments. We'll dive back into the comments now. Where are we? Hernandez says, how's it going? Wear me up, you well. I agree about where we playing out of position. Probably would have done better had we put Sidibe on the right and Coleman in behind. I agree. Wimmy said, people shouldn't blame me and Sidibe when Luis runs half the pitch unchallenged by any of our midfield all the time in the world to play over insane with Xhaka. I agree. I agree, to be honest with you. I don't think we can solely blame the defence. I don't think we can solely blame Sidibe or Yerry Mina. I think the midfield were poor yesterday. I think they were poor as a whole. Fabian Delph, again, another game in an Everton shirt where he's done very little. Same with Gylfi Sigurdsson. But it's a team game at the end of the day, and you have to critique everybody's performances, don't you, in order to improve. Underground says midfield was all wrong, should have started Bernard over Delph. I fear that there was an issue with Bernard, whether it be himself saying that he doesn't feel fit enough to start a game, or whether Ancelotti making that decision. But I feel like Bernard would have been in there in the starting 11 if there wouldn't have been some sort of issue. That's just my opinion. Wim says if midfield allows quality passes time to play, Aubameyang get in, then name the defenders that can keep up with that menace. It's a fair point. Wemio says I was confused by the team we started and so confused as I'm bewildered by Keane. He finally starts to play and we bench him again. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time for Moise Keane. I think he will get his opportunities. Wemio says hit the like guys with a ninja overhead kick if you want. Underground says Everton actually shows fight under Ancelotti. Last time at the Emirates was complete chaos. It was. Brendan says Coleman plays with one end of. A little bit like me point before. William says, don't know about that, Brendan. Brendan says Sidibe was awful. Joel says Gomes will definitely start against United and we'll win 10-0. I hope so. I think he'll definitely start though. William says, feel free to break your logic down and make me understand that it works. Brendan says he was a fault for 2 goals. William says, hang on. Where are we? I've lost it. Where he says, if we started Keane, dropped Sigurdsson and played the Iwobi on the left and Rich on the right, the team actually concentrated for 90 minutes, we might have won. Underground said the Iwobi was trash. He didn't have his greatest game yesterday. Fernandes says, hope Gomes is 100% fit because Bruno Fernandes is fantastic at United. We need to bully him around. I'm sure we will turn him around. Can't have Schneider and Sigurdsson start again. Bruno Fernandes is a very, very good player. I agree. We'll talk a little bit about the Man United game in just a second. I think Gomes, if you'd have said to me yesterday, Gomes is 60% fit, 70% fit. I'd still say a 60-70% fit Andre Gomes is about 4 times as good as 100% fit Fabian Delph or Gylfi Sigurdsson. But I think he was 100% fit judging on the performance yesterday. William says, Derby puts Sidibe against Auburn in a foot race, he loses it 100 times out of 10 end of. David says, why Iwobi over Bernard? Iwobi could have played Sentinel instead of Sigurdsson. Like I said, my only reasoning for that is that potentially there could have been some form of injury or fitness issue with Bernard. William says the whole team plays. As I said, if your midfield gives people a year to think about a pass, they probably make that pass. And as I said, you think Coleman stands a chance pace-wise against Aubameyang. Sidibe did as well. Brendan says, how did he do against Zaha 2 weeks ago? He was fantastic. David says defence got ripped. Underground says Everton need more class players for rotation to work. Spot on. Says it's a hard defender. David says if we lose our next 3, Europe is gone. I don't think we will lose our next 3, to be honest with you. Says no Zaha, also known for silly pace. Underground says next season maybe John Joe Kenny can play. It really depends on how Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti deem John Joe Kenny's development at Schalke has gone. And I suppose we'll see that in the summer. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel as well, don't forget to subscribe. Go and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Why not? Links in the description below as well. Mark says roll on summer transfer window. Roll it on, mate. Mitchell says who's your money on 4th and 5th then, Cam? Ooh, I don't know, mate, to be honest. I think Chelsea will finish in either one of those places, and I'm going to probably say Tottenham finishing in either one of them places, to be honest with you. But it's massively wide open. Everton, United, Sheffield United, Wolves, it's massively wide open at the minute. David says Kenny doesn't have pace, but any cultured defender understands to give a yard. I think Kenny as well, it's going to be a case of whether he's developed defensively, because the biggest worry for John Joe Kenny was that is he or is he not good enough defensively? So obviously that'll be the biggest thing that I think Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti will be looking for. Remy says Gomes was great. Hopefully we get a defensive mid to sit and give him the freedom. Hopefully. Remy says, hey guys, hit the like, support the Mighty Blues channel. If you could, it would mean a massive amount to me. Cheers. Remy Clip says DCL missed 4 sitters. That would have earned us a point minimum. He did, and I do think it's important to talk about the fact that he missed a couple of clear-cut opportunities in the second half, which ultimately could have, equalised the game for us and then gone to win it. But also, I don't really want to delve or dwell too much on it, because for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's been absolutely unbelievable this season, as has Richarlison. And yes, okay, ultimately we're reviewing this game and he could have, scored that one-on-one and equalised, and ultimately we could have taken an important point from that game. But again, he understands that, like I said earlier on in the stream, he done that social media post, he understands that he should have potentially done a little bit better, and I just think, for me, the pair of them have been in fantastic form, so I think it would be unfair to continuously go in on them. Mitchell says, how can you say Calvert-Lewin was in danger by being headed in the foot, mate? No, I probably sound a little bit stupid. What I mean is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin doesn't kick David Luiz in the head. David Luiz moves his head towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin's foot, so I don't understand how in any way that's a foul. Dave says 96p. Dave says because he was kicking a scoring pad. Mitchell. Eric says DCL has actually proved me wrong. He just needs to work on being more clinical. I agree with that one. David says up spoons. Underground says Kenny isn't doing too bad at Schalke in a European spot. They're doing well. They are doing well at the moment, but obviously the German league is massively different to the Premier League. 1870 ST says hello, mate. Sick of us not showing up all my life. I'm 34. Yeah, me too, mate. I'm not 34, but I'm sick of us showing up. Eugene says happy 90th birthday to Anthony Gordon. Of course, a big happy 90th birthday to Anthony Gordon. Wim says they think there's a lot of blaming Dom. Could have scored more, but he won us games. Football is a team game. Your whole team has to perform to a level. We then all wins, losses and draws on the same as a whole. I agree, spot on. 1870 keep saying it and get shit for it, but I'm sick of DCL, and it's not like I can't justify my argument. I think you've got an argument there. I disagree with it, but he does need to be more clinical. Clip says, our players still aren't good enough yet. The goals were due to horrible defence, but it's undeniable that DCL missed sitters. He did. That's fair. William says, so it's about which players aren't pulling their weight. That's not Dom, that's on midfield. I agree. There are a lot of players in this side that just simply aren't good enough. And that needs to improve, obviously, and there's a big summer ahead for Carlo Ancelotti, of course. Joseph Calvert-Lewin should have done way better. Clip says, not saying DCL shouldn't play because he's doing great, but he should have scored the hat-trick yesterday. I think that's a fair point. Eric says, Holgate has massively proved me wrong. Me too, mate. Wormy says, maybe Joel, but Siggs should have done better all season, yet he still keeps getting started. That's another fair point. Eric says, Sidibe going forward is really good, but defensively he can get caught out. Wormy says, rather we start Keane, it was the future, than waste time starting Eustace Sigurdsson, who would leave the club. I see your point and I actually agree. Dave says the midfield need bypassing. Holgate should be covered in Sidibe, where Mina covers Baines. Neither did for once. Pickford is blameless. I agree with that one. Mitch says if Everton want to go top four, they need a striker like Aubameyang, not DCL. He's a good player, but he'll never be elite like Aubameyang. The man is generally top 5 strikers on the planet. He is, and that's the exact reason as to why he won't be at Arsenal next season. But I think we need a striker like the quality of Aubameyang next to somebody like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. John says, but definitely get Europe next season. Jared says, playing a high line against Arsenal is madness. We did the same at Arsenal. Did the same at Anfield, sorry, drop deep. There's no way Arsenal forwards would win in the air against Mina. That is a good fair point, to be fair. Eugene says, transfer news, Everton target Gabriel Magalhaes. We do, that is news coming out, obviously, of France defender for Lille. Is supposedly to be a target for Everton. We'll do a transfer related video on Wednesday where we'll talk about him. Mitch says also let him show Pickford what a good goalkeeper looks like. He performed really well, to be fair to him yesterday. Wim says no Mitch, but Keane will be. Eric says saw a lot of positives. I think we all did. Luke says Mitch Walcott gets into good position and wasn't on form, to be fair. I agree with that one. Eric says we're crying out for a right winger. Wim says Cam's lost it. It's the like so we can find it. Eric says I think people are too harsh on Iwobi. The guy's 23 and is a number 10. If Iwobi was 28, it'd be scheming to get Iwobi out. Fair point. Wim says hiya. Jess says hiya. Good. I can't even pronounce that. Says I hate the fact that we have no right winger except Walcott. It is very frustrating. Wim says I agree. Eric, all the people who pick up Iwobi, the player out of position in his first game back from injury, they were the worst people on the pitch. One glaring example how is he keeps getting on playing 90 minutes is beyond me. I said, remember last season when we destroyed United 4-0? I do, and I'm hoping for a similar performance this week. 1870 just can't. One of the neon Nike Max 95s out. Love them sabs. I don't know, mate. He also says, all dogs side of the channel, thank you very much. He says, we need a right winger and a CDM, a centre-back, a right-back, a backup goalkeeper, then we can challenge for Europe. A lot of players. Clip says, Iwobi wasn't even playing in his best position and isn't a strong defender. He's not a defender whatsoever. We arguably could have won by simply putting Theo right wing in front of Sidibe, since Theo was really good at defensive work, but he wasn't fit, he was injured. And William says, hey Cam, what do you think if anyone we steal off Manchester City when the Rats start jumping ship? Who do you think if anyone we steal off Man City? Gabriel Jesus. Well, obviously, if I could have to pick of the bunch, it would be De Bruyne or, Bernardo Silva. But Gabriel Jesus, realistically, for me, even though it's probably not very realistic. Anyway, that's going to do it today. Listen, a very frustrating result. After a performance that there was a lot of positives in. We should have done a lot better, of course. We should have made the most of the opportunities that we created. There's no hiding away from the fact that Dom should have done a lot better, but I just really don't want to go too much into Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because I think recently he's been fantastic, as has Richarlison, who also could have done better in the last 25 to 30 minutes of the game yesterday. But there you go. Such is life, isn't it? You win some, you lose some. Everton lose to Arsenal, unfortunately, which now means we have to go out and put in a big performance next Sunday against Manchester United and get the 3 points. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel as well, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is at MightyBluesYT and Instagram is MightyBluesEFC. So don't forget to follow us on both of those platforms. Because it says, sorry, ignore my name. I said before, it's for the free 30-day trial for YouTube Premium. Fair enough. 1878 says, mate, no worries. Wim says, Mahrez. I'd love to take Mahrez. Wim says, easy, everyone, have a good night. Thank you very much. Wim says, Cam, when you back Wednesday? Yeah, I'll be back at 5:30 on Wednesday, so don't forget to join us then. Tosby says, no, I'm late again. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Hopefully you can catch up on the replay. 1878 says, hit the like, people. Thank you very much. Maybe says, haha, dos, mate. If you could hit the like button, it'd mean a massive amount to me. Once again, a big thanks to everybody in the live comments for getting involved as per usual. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Unfortunate that we couldn't go out and get the 3 points yesterday, and unfortunate that we couldn't take any of the opportunities that we created in the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes to ultimately get a point. But oh well, you take these sort of situations on the head, and we go again next week. I think we go with confidence next week. Again, there seems to be a lot of team spirit, and hopefully we can go and pick up where we left off before the Arsenal game, and go and get a 3 points against Manchester United in a game that I actually think we can get 3 points in. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday, 5:30 for another live stream, and then we'll be back with the live game preview, of course, on Friday ahead of the game against Manchester United, so don't forget to join us for that one. Big thanks for watching. Dosman says, hope you guys are doing well, though. I'm not too bad, I hope you're doing well. And Eugene says, see you bye up the toppies. Thanks, Eugene. See you later. Thanks very much for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.